This Trippie Redd album is like having a happy dog running around the yard every day to neutering him and watching him become a former shell of himself. Listening to an album like Exclamation Point made me appreciate what Trippie Redd has brought to the table so many times before in the past, which is his voice that is so vibrant and so explosive, a rare attribute that I feel has carried him up until this point, because no one's really going to Trippie Redd for any deep lyricism. I know the dude can rap, he can flow, I like his vocal inflections, but no one's really going to him for, you know, the bars. So here on Exclamation Point, I thought there would be heavy emphasis placed on that. With an album title like Exclamation Point, I would expect your album to be really explosive, really urgent. That's not what this is. And I hate to be one of those people that says, oh, Trippie Redd's going mainstream, but I mean, it's a really clean album. The first track is fucking produced by Diplo. Like, come on now. And that isn't to say that Trippie Redd hasn't gone with a cleaner approach, a little bit more of a mainstream tactic before, but at least he kind of kept a personality over it. With majority of this album, I feel a hard time connecting to Trippie Redd because so much of the other shit is just so synthetic. It feels so clean and touched up and processed to the extent that I'm wondering where Trippie Redd actually is going to have a place to shine. His voice seems so much more tame on this project, which in my opinion was a surprise because it actually was something that I viewed as an attribute going through his catalog. It really became something that I look forward to as my interest grew more towards his voice than his lyrics or his production. His voice was the flame that carried majority of his projects. That flame is what was keeping that furnace going, but seeing the flame get smaller here, almost as if he's shrunken his vocal personality to fit into this little box, it was just pretty disappointing. One thing he definitely hasn't left behind is his ballad-like love songs that detail relationships of him either having issues with the girl that he's with or him breaking up with one, but it's hard for me to really view him as emotional when he's so emotionally and vocally limited on this project, it seems. Some of the hooks here take up a lot of the song, so by the time we actually get to a Trippie Redd verse or one of his features, you're wondering what the fuck the point of the song was anyway. Messages on this project are very inconsistent, and not to say I'm expecting some grand ideas from Trippie Redd, but when you on one song tell people not to kill themselves and then on the very next song tell them to do just that, what am I supposed to think? I will give him credit though, because I do think this song has been sorely misinterpreted by many of the people that just want to make a comedic remark about him blatantly contradicting himself on the next song. On the track Snakeskin, Trippie Redd is not telling people not to kill themselves. He's telling people not to lose themselves. On that same track, he's expressing the sentiment of having his haters hate to see him win, and all the material that he's acquired over the span of his career. On the next track, Be Yourself, he's not telling people to kill themselves, but he's telling people, hey, if you're not being yourself, you're not existing anyway. What good is an existence if you're not actually being you? You haven't been living as yourself for a long time anyway, so what good are you? If the previous track he's telling people not to lose themselves, and then on the next track he's telling people to be themselves or else kill yourself, these tracks go hand in hand. But that is the extent of the metaphorical confusion on this project, because the rest of it is extremely straightforward. The game should never have auto-tune over his voice. The track Mac 10 just smells like plastic. Easily a track that Gunna or Lil Baby could have pulled out of their bag. Having Playboi Carti on the track They Afraid of You only works to Playboi Carti's advantage and not Trippie Redd's. Trippie Redd just sounds like he's rapping over it, and Carti sounds like he's fusing with it. Like most of the other dirtier, unscripted, inspired by events or emotion type artists, once they start putting their music in album form, for some reason it's cleaned up to the extent that the artist has no actual presence or personality over it. These albums that they put out are so squeaky clean to the point that they're devoid of any kind of rawness or adventure. I feel like in an attempt to go with this direction, Trippie Redd has lost a lot of what made me enjoy him in the first place, which was that flame. No, not flame as in fire music. I mean flame as in it felt like this artist had a ton of energy, a ton of life. And sure, some people could argue that compared to the rest of the landscape, this album isn't as bad as I'm making it out to be. But the fact that I'm returning to 0 out of the 14 or 15 tracks that are on this project is telling. Trippie Redd with Exclamation Point. That's how I'm feeling, and that's it. You let me know how you feel about the album in the comment section down below. Curious to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. I'm out.